Hello and welcome to It's Your Business with Mario Toneguzzi on Megapix Media. Joining me today is Amit Sahasrabudhe, who is Vice President of Home Equity Financing, Products and Acquisitions for RBC. Thanks for joining us today, Amit.
Thanks for having me, Mario.
Well, you guys put out a poll today, the results of a poll on Canadians and their thoughts are in the housing market currently. Tell me, first of all, from your perspective, what were the key points or the key results coming out of that survey?
Yeah, thanks, Mario. This is a survey we've ran for a little while now. And this last round, based on the sentiment polling we've done across Canadians, the key headline that we've uncovered is that Canadians today continue to believe in the strength of the real estate market, despite them having general concerns about the overall economy. The poll itself found that across Canada, only 18% of Canadians stated that the overall economy is strong, yet 45% believed in the strength of the housing market. So that was one of the key findings that came out of the poll.
Why do you think that? Like, why do Canadians feel so strongly about the market right now?
Yeah, I'd say, I'd say it's partly what Canadians are seeing externally and partly what's happening within their own financial situations. So from an external perspective, Canadians are seeing strength in the housing market. They see high activity. They're seeing home values continue to rise. And in general, I believe Canadians, they believe in home ownership. We see 80% of the poll came back that Canadians believe in home ownership today, despite the impacts of the pandemic and the general unaffordability challenges taking place across Canada. We see Canadians finding ways to be able to find affordable property further away from the core metropolitan areas within their budget.
Yeah.
And very briefly, given this, in parallel to this, Canadian buyers, they continue to be financially resilient as well. They're finding themselves in situations where they're able to change their savings and spending habits and actually seek out more affordable property in a market that's thriving right now.
Okay, super. One of the things that I did see in the results was more Canadians looking at the suburbs or rural areas. Can you talk a little bit about that, Amit?
Absolutely. As we've seen this pandemic unfold, we have seen it change needs across many Canadians when it comes to housing. The pandemic altered work arrangements for millions of Canadians, potentially permanently for many of them, and it prompted a large-scale reevaluation of housing needs. A number of current owners are opting to move, something they probably would have never contemplated had it not been for the pandemic. And with commuting to work less of a factor, many Canadians are drawn to more affordable suburbs and smaller markets away from core urban centers, which overall has been driving up home resale activity in these more distant areas. But that is a need that we're continuing to see play out. And it has been a key driver for why we're seeing this kind of activity take place.
Okay. Well, when you look at the results, did you break it down in any way on a regional basis, or and I'm just wondering in terms of that sentiment, the confidence in the Canadian market, if that is something that's across the country and widespread?
Yes, so we did break it down. In addition to seeing this at a national level, we did break it down at a regional level. And so I'm happy to talk a little bit further into what we saw at an Alberta specific level, if that helps.
Yeah, please share what you guys did see here in Alberta.
Yeah, so I'd say many of the trends were aligned or similar. In Alberta, there is a gap between the same strength and belief in the real estate market versus the economy. However, on both fronts, we saw a lower score in the sense that Albertans were a little less optimistic, I would say. In Alberta specifically, the Canadians that we polled showed that 8% believed in the strength of the overall economy, while 32% believed in the housing market. So again, similar trend, similar gap, but overall both scores came out lower, showing that they were less optimistic, I'd say, across both.
Okay. Now, one last thing, Amit, as we head into, or as we are into 2021 and the rest of the year, uh, do you think the fact of the vaccinations and perhaps at some point, getting through all this pandemic stuff will strengthen the housing market even more so?
Yeah, it's a great question, Mario. I'd say as we see a return to the economy, as we see the vaccinations come out, um, we do see an ongoing strength in the market. We do see a stable overall housing market going forward. As long as Canadians continue to feel optimistic, they continue to be financially resilient given their situations, and also we're in a very low interest rate environment still. So there's many factors that are driving up and continuing to drive and sustain the activity we're seeing forward.
Yeah.
There will be certain variables that we'll have to monitor very carefully. One, where we are seeing tighter inventory across the nation, that will, as much as it's driving home prices up, that has an effect on the level of activity going forward. We also we'll see what the commitment from the government is from an immigration perspective and how soon that can take place, because that will have a different type of impact as well on the strength of the economy going forward. So we do see growth. We see moderated growth potentially, given all the sort of pent-up demand has been exhausted by now. But having said that, we do see growth going forward as well.
Okay, super. Well, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me again, Mario. Really appreciate it.
Okay, that was Amit Sahasrabudhe, who is the Vice President of Home Equity Financing, Products and Acquisitions for RBC. This has been It's Your Business with Mario Toneguzzi on Megapix Media. Thanks for joining us today.